Now let's take a look. I want to show you why Versafine Ink from Tsukineko is my all-time favorite. And we'll show you a lot of different tips and techniques with it. Okay, I'm going to begin with our little scarf stamp that we've taken from our Jumbo Snowman set, and I'm going to explain why Versafine is my favorite ink. So let me start with this. I'm going to open it up and make a couple of impressions here just with the scarf so that we can do this test. And again, I can see exactly where I'm placing it. And I like that I get a very nice fine impression from this ink. The pad is rather durable. It's not as squishy as some of the spongy type pads would be. And I think that's part of giving me a nice crisp impression every time. So one of the beautiful features about this is how easily it cleans up off of the clear stamps in particular. Look at this. I can clean it up with wet wipes and have it look good as new again. So anyway, a couple of the things about this ink, it does take a few minutes for it to dry, so I'm letting these dry just a little bit. And then I want to explain how it's a favorite as well because of how I can use all of these different types of markers, and it's not going to smear the color of the ink. So you can see how quickly I've just barely had this stamped, and I'm talking a little bit to just give it another minute or two, but I discovered another fun thing, that with this scarf, if I wanted to just do a striping pattern, I'm planning to cut this scarf out, so I might as well just do my stripes all the way across. Well, you can see none of that black ink was disturbed by my markers, and these are all different water-based markers from Marvy and Tsukineko, and they're very nice to use, give me very vivid bright colors, and I can come in here without disturbing any of that black and do all of my color work. So this is really quite fun, easy way to do some striping on the scarves. And I just went all the way across. But once I cut that out, you're going to see what a fun pattern that creates. And again, the ink didn't smear, so that was very easy to work with. Now, a second thing that I like to do is work with all of my color pencils. And so in this case as well, since I've stamped it on scrapbook paper, that I'm just going to color across the whole thing. Why not? I'm going to trim it out later. But this would show, if that ink was going to smear, it would go all over the place. And instead I'm getting a nice covering without disturbing any of the nice black impression that I started with. And if I wanted to come back in and do a bit more coloring, I can have gone over all the edges because I'm going to trim it later. So I'll show you just quick. I'm just adding some shading. And in case I hadn't showed this before, if you want polka dots, your darker color on top is easy. Okay, there we go. Okay, now let's say I want to do another technique. Now these color pencils happen to be an Aquarelle brand, and you can use any different kind of color pencils, and yet these happen to be ones that I can also use with water. So again, I'm going to do some other technique here where I'm just going to do some stripes a little bit further apart, go all the way down, and then show you if I were to come back in with a wet brush. Again, my black lines aren't smearing, and my color is kind of washing around, which actually is going to sort of look like a, the more watermarks I get, the more interesting. So it's nice to have a blotter on hand. And in case you don't want to use just the regular brush, there's also the water brushes that are refillable. And in the same way as I squeeze, it's releasing water, and my colors go brighter, and I can do some interesting just gradients of color and let that work all the way down. But again, my ink is staying in its place underneath, and I'm not getting smeared ink anywhere. So that's a lot of why this ink is such a favorite of mine. And in addition to that, they don't even sell refills because they last 5 times longer than much of any of the other types of pigment inks. So you can see it's an all-time favorite ink for me.